welcome to Yoga Chats with me, your host, Greg Walsh. Today's guest is Adrian Martin, who had dabbled in yoga before, but really took it up in earnest over Zoom. So, which I think is an interesting story. Adrian referred to himself as a Zoom baby. So, Adrian, thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. So tell me, Adrian, you were outlining your story a little bit. You've dabbled lightly in yoga before, but as I said, you call yourself a Zoom baby. What made you think you'd like to try yoga on Zoom?
Well, I'd been doing yoga on kind of Monday nights in the local parochial hall for a couple of years. There was a few ladies kind of passed through and did it during term time and so on. So, you know, a Monday night is no excuse. You've no excuse not to do something on a Monday night. But I never got any proficiency. I never kind of graduated beyond just doing a class for a couple of weeks and then leaving it and doing a class for a couple of weeks. And then lockdown came. And about 2 or 3 months into lockdown, myself and half the country decided we needed some sort of a fitness regime, you know, before we start climbing the walls. And I turned to yoga straight away, and I started doing yoga myself at home because I had a mat, obviously, but it wasn't going well. I knew it. I knew instinctively.
Were you following a YouTube video, or were you just following your own sort of memory?
No, I didn't. I was never really attracted to the pre-recorded videos or anything like that. It didn't do it for me. I knew they were there all right, but I didn't bother with them. But I'd been to Samadhi for a week in 2018, and so I looked you up online and I booked a class on Zoom, and I couldn't get over it, Greg. I had an epiphanic moment. I couldn't believe that a yoga class could translate so well in technology, for me anyway, because all I'm aware of in a yoga class is the teacher, because I'm struggling too hard to get the moves anyway. So I was absolutely blown away by it, and I set out immediately then to do as many Samadhi classes as I could, and to find a kind of a level and to find a routine, and to find the teachers that would suit me and so on.
And did you, so a year on, do you feel you found that? Have you
Absolutely.
found that?
I think what happened then was I found a level of quite a lot now, 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4 classes a week. And I settled into it. And after about, my Zoom anniversary will be the 2nd of June.
We'll have to have a party, a Zoom party, of course.
Yeah, but I definitely feel now as though I've made a breakthrough, that I've got a kind of a level of proficiency now of yoga that I wouldn't have got before. And I definitely wouldn't have done as many classes, either pre-recorded classes or even going into a studio, than I did with Zoom. Yeah.
Well, you do it in your own home, so there's an ease of access with that.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people say that that they feel there isn't the same meaningful connection with the teacher as they would have had if they were going into a room, into a studio or whatever. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I found that the word I use is intuition. The intuition of the instructors, including yourself, Greg, is very apparent to me. Particularly if you do a pre-recorded YouTube class and then you compare it to a Zoom class. You know, the teacher will have put a lot of thought into the class, and then they'll also be looking at you as well. So you're unlikely to make enormous mistakes and things like that. Now, mind you, as the year passes by, I'm getting a lot less, shout outs like, Adrian, you're doing it wrong, or Adrian, you're doing the wrong leg, or Adrian, have you frozen? You know, that kind of thing. So
That's not my language, Adrian. I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. But that's waning now, and there's other people have stepped into it who are getting closer attention. But you do know you're being observed, and you know if you make a dreadful mistake that it'll be picked up very quickly. And I also feel as though the teachers, if you can get the same teacher week in, week out, the same class week in and week out, that the instructor will have built in their own ambitions, that'll suit the kind of yoga that they're doing. And you'd miss out on that if you're just cherry picking classes here and there, you know. Plus, I'd never make half the classes if they were pre-recorded. I'd be procrastinating, you know. I'm running in the door from work at 6:25, and I'm putting on the laptop and I'm trying to get changed and I'm throwing down the mat and I'm doing all that. I wouldn't be doing that otherwise if it was, and I wouldn't get as many classes in either.
No, you wouldn't. No, the fact with pre-recorded, I think, is you're getting in at 6:30. You think, oh yeah, I'll do it in a couple of minutes, and then a couple of minutes later, you realize you're hungry, and then then it's time for Home and Away in Coronation Street, whatever it is. It's there isn't the same kind of immediacy, and I find from my end, like the other side of it, because I plug my laptop into a massive screen, so I can see everyone really clearly, and that for me makes a huge difference. So for me, it feels very immersive. I know you're just seeing the teacher, but I'm seeing everyone on like 50-inch, and so it does mean that I can, like, there are things I can't see, but there's a lot I can see. I can see the angle of the feet. I can see if the kneecaps are working, if the thighs are, and which is always what I would have been looking for. And for me, like, I love, the classes at 6:30, let's say. At 6:15, I'll open the room, and I probably won't turn on my camera, but I can see everyone, and it's like, oh, there's Adrian, there's, it's like, there's that personal connection. I feel that it does go both ways. So tell us, are you itching to get into a studio when things start to reopen in Ireland? Or are you
absolutely
Zoom?
Yeah, no, I would. I'd like to keep on doing Zoom classes. There's no doubt about it, for just getting in the quantity of classes. But absolutely, I'd love to meet the teachers, especially. That'd be like meeting a celeb at this stage, because I only know the teachers from being on screen. But definitely, I'd love to get in, particularly into Samadhi. But for me, one of the other things that I've really enjoyed, in addition to just getting lots of Zoom classes, are the add-ons, the workshops. And you had 2 retreats as well, which I really liked. The retreats, it's a tough 2 days, particularly the middle day. And the workshops are tough, 2 or 3 hours of the same kind of area or the same moves and things like that. I think that's where you make progress. So I would definitely be keeping a close eye to see what I could get into the studio to do. And also, if I could get 1 class in a week in the studio, I would. I mean, I think it's only normal for human interaction to want to go somewhere. We could do all our shopping online, for example, but sometimes you want to go into the shop and have a route around.
You want to pick something up, or you want to, ask advice from the shop assistant. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that yearning for human interaction is still very much there. But I think that my gut feeling is that a lot of people will come in. I think studio classes will probably be smaller numbers. And I think it'll be something that if you're doing 4 classes a week, 1 will be in the studio, or if you're doing 1 class a week, once a month might be in the studio.
Sure.
But so you get that, because I think it's so great to see face to face and have a little bit of over and back, or let the teacher see in really clear detail. And that can then refer back to the Zoom classes. I think they'll become something of a mesh. It's my gut feeling in time.
Yeah, I mean, when the lockdown was eased up, Greg, I don't know if you recall, but I did get into Samadhi, and I arranged to meet you to pick up some gear, and that was like my way of making a kind of a human contact, because I knew I was going to have quite a profound time with you, and I knew I was going to do a lot of classes. So when I got the bolster and the few bits and pieces, I thought, well, that's it now. I've made a connection, so I'm kind of committed to it,
Yeah, we're lifers now. And actually, I wanted to bring that up because you said something when you came in. People at home, just to explain, so, there's loads of equipment sitting in Samadhi in Temple Bar, and it's not been used. So I said to anyone who was coming to classes, if you want to borrow long-term loan until we can reopen and can use them again, because my gut feeling is we're not going to be sharing cloth props like bolsters or blankets for a while yet. So I think in studio terms, people might be bringing their stuff in. It might go like that for a while. We'll see, we'll figure, or maybe we use wooden stuff that can be wipeable, who knows. But anyway, Adrian, you came in, and but you said to me, it was great to meet you. I feel like I've met someone off the telly. And I have to say, I laughed at the time, and I laughed going home, and I told Quiva, and I laughed again, and I'm still laughing. I loved it. But I realized you're absolutely right. And for me as well, it was like meeting someone off the telly. So that's the crazy thing with Zoom yoga. So is there any takeaway, do you feel, that people at home can get from our chat today, Adrian?
Well, other than to just share my experience, which is I think I've made a fairly profound breakthrough with yoga, that I was knocking on the door for a fair few years, and obviously I had an enthusiasm, and there was obviously a great interest in me, but I wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting the amount of classes in and so on. So almost ironically, lockdown has led to a breakthrough for me for yoga, and I mean, it's been a year. I mean, I do feel profoundly different. My physiology is completely different. I have a desk job, for example, and my posture and so on. My energy is much better, and I've noticed as well I sleep much more sound now. I mean, I'm getting like serious quality night's sleep and so on. But anyway, I suppose that's all quite personal, but definitely the Zoom yoga and the various classes with Samadhi have given me that breakthrough.
That gives me a warm, fuzzy glow too. Yeah. I think what I'm hearing in that is the consistency, though. Like, fair play to you. You show up like 4 times a week, sometimes 5 times a week, and you do the practice. So, and I think Zoom has facilitated that, but you've also put the work in. Equally, you could be watching Coronation Street, but you're coming to a class. So hats off to you. So, but don't take your hat off.
I won't take my hat off because I haven't had a haircut in about 6 months. So it's a vanity thing here, Greg.
Well, I used to be a hairdresser. Not everyone knows that. So before many years ago, I did 10 years cutting hair. So that's how I stay looking so fabulous.
That's how you do it.
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
Adrian, it's been an absolute pleasure having the yoga chats with you today. Thank you so much.
Anytime, Greg. Thanks very much.
Not at all. So that's all for now, folks. I hope you can come back. I'm Greg Walsh. I hope you can join us again for some more yoga chats soon.